What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the College Football Preview Show. College football is so back. So too is Skubie Mageza. That is Harry Lyles Jr. pinch hitting for our Matt Sims, who will join us next week, guys. How are we feeling? What are the vibes like going into 2026, Scoob? You checking the weather?
By this, the vibes are high, if I may say. College football season is here. Every year, it just feels like it's going to get better and better, Harry.
It does. This is the best time of the year. Look, I know you guys enjoy your summers and all that kind of stuff like that. I'm ready for some football.
Yeah. I hope you did your final vacation with your wife, because right now is the beginning of you no longer being there.
Sayonara, right?
You'll find ways to be there. You got to find ways to be there.
It was a long off season, painstakingly so. We had congressional hearings, right? We had eligibility rulings, which are still going on, by the way. We'll get to some of those. Don't forget a high-profile gambling scandal out there in Texas Tech, too. So a lot going on in the offseason, but finally we get to talk ball, right? We got TCU, North Carolina kicking it off in Dublin on Saturday. We'll get to that in just a bit. We got some Heisman talk. But before we do all that, let's get to which is more likely to happen. Just a couple of scenarios to get the old juices flowing here. And let's start in the Big Ten, because I don't know if you guys at home have noticed, the Big Ten's been pretty good the last couple of years. Pretty good. 3 straight national championships, going for the 4th. So what is more likely to happen as we open this up? The Big Ten wins 4 straight, or the field wins the Natty? Scoob, what do you got?
I love this question because, as you said, 3 in a row, and right now the Big Ten has the top 2 teams in the AP poll ranking. At the top, the Big Ten is heavy. But then when I look at everyone else, the SECs, the Notre Dames, I feel more inclined to say I trust in the field to be able to win the Natty, just from a numbers perspective. Do I believe that the Big Ten can win it? Yes, of course. But I look at teams like Notre Dame. I look at teams like Georgia. You're seeing Miami. Miami is bringing back a great team this year. The transfer portal has changed things. So, Harry, I'm going to lean with the field here. I don't know where you're sitting on this side of the fence.
Scooby, you're a smart man, because even I can do the numbers here. There are, I believe, 136 teams this year playing FBS football. I would say there are 3 Big Ten teams that I feel really good about this year: Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana.
Okay.
And I still think people are sleeping a little bit on Indiana. The Big Ten has the last, 3 national champions, all different teams. That means, in theory, we could get another different one. I feel like this could potentially, I'm not making this pick, but Oregon, 1-5 against teams playing in the national championship game, 37-0 against everybody else the last 3 seasons. That, to me, sounds like a team that has to break through eventually. Yeah. I'm going to go with the Big Ten wins the Natty again. Okay. I think it's going to be one of those 3. I think those 3 teams are so tough. And again, to your point, Scooby, you mentioned the depth of the SEC. It's always there. I know we want to make this a conference versus conference thing, whatever. The SEC started that nonsense and whatever. But when I look at Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon, I think one of those teams is going to win it.
Yeah, and head-to-head, when the Big Ten has gone against the SEC in the college football playoff, the other teams just win. The SEC hasn't proved it in those matchups. And you make a great point with Oregon. I like them a lot to be able to win the national championship, but can they break through? It's always that one game that they miss out on. They have a great regular season, and then by the time that we get to the college football playoff, it's a blowout. The past 2 seasons, Oregon has been beat by nearly 50 points in those 2 games. So for them, it's almost like a now or never moment, because they had multiple players who had an opportunity to go to the NFL but decided to come back. But as for Ohio State, another team with a lot of talent all over. You get Julian Sayin, a guy who I believe needed just a little bit more experience. I think he'll be a better player this year. Sure. And you still got Jeremiah Smith. That defense is hard. That defense is looking a lot better this year. And I also think that they need a little bit of help on the offensive line. But outside of that, I think Oregon and Ohio State, you got to be happy about them.
I'm going to be the tiebreaker here, and I'll go with the field here, because Ohio State plus 600 odds. We just saw those moments ago. That is the longest odds for any preseason #1 favorite in the last 20 years, which tells me there's a little bit undecided there at the top. So field is wide open. We're going to go with a field wins the Natty. Next up, Texas, right? So Arch Manning winning the Heisman, or Texas doesn't make the college football playoff. Scoob, what's more likely to happen this year?
All I can think about is the Cheez-It Bowl game when I saw Arch Manning running wild, over 150 yards rushing, threw for over 220, and had 4 total touchdowns. With the schedule they have with the weapons that they've added in Cam Coleman specifically, I think this just sets up for Arch Manning to win the Heisman, because everyone wanted to line up and hand him the Heisman when the season started last year, but it was an up and down season. And then when it got towards that second half of the year, he started to play great football. Texas's schedule is difficult.
Very.
Arch Manning's performance is going to shine because their schedule is difficult. So I'll go with Heisman.
Lyles, it does feel like a if not now, then when scenario in Austin this year.
Yeah. So, look, Skubie, you make some good points, especially about the talent, Cam Coleman, but even at the running back position, that's something that they have really struggled with. You had Hollywood Smothers, a guy that NC State really hated to lose, really tough player. And then Raleek Brown originally started at USC, played at Arizona State last year. Speedy guy. So they've got all kinds of different weapons in that backfield now. There's some sort of O-line uncertainty, but I think you figured that out. Defensively, this team's going to be tough. They've got Colin Simmons, probably the best defensive player in the country. However, though, you mentioned that schedule.
Yo, it's so bad.
We're going to get to the schedule in a bit. We'll get to that. So let's make the pick.
Look, I think when we look at the Heisman race, you have Dante Moore, you've got C.J. Carr. I think you should still include Trinidad Chambliss in there. Julian Sayin was a finalist, and I think that offense is going to be more potent. I would bet on Texas not making the CFP as the more likely bet than Arch winning the Heisman. I don't think they're going to miss it. But
it's more
given
likely,
the mountain that Arch would have to climb, Skubie, as you mentioned, the schedule, I would probably bet on them missing the CFP as opposed to that. Losing 2 or 3 games.
They're in a situation where they could lose 3 games and 2 of them were 3 points, single-digit losses. But him probably balled out of control in said loss, which doesn't eliminate you from Heisman contention.
All right. Why am I deciding, by the way? You guys just can't figure this out. We'll go with Arch winning the Heisman for a couple of different reasons, some of which you mentioned, Scoop. But this year, it does feel like something has to happen, right? In Texas, the expectations were just unattainable last year for Arch. I think they are attainable this year. Let's go to the SEC now. What's more likely to happen? Obviously, the big saga really at the end of last season and into this season was Lane Kiffin abandoning Ole Miss in the midst of a playoff run to go to the LSU Tigers. The grass is always greener, or maybe it isn't.
Something like that, or purple, I think.
What's more likely to happen this year, Lyles? LSU makes the college football playoff, or Ole Miss does?
Ole Miss.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, look, what LSU has done portal-wise, obviously Lane Kiffin, one of the best offensive minds in all of college football. A little concerned with what we saw from Sam Leavitt last year. I understand he was injured. But I do think ultimately, because I got the chance to cover him when he was at Arizona State, definitely mentally sound as a leader, but I do think people need to remember just because you hit the portal does not mean that it's going to hit in year 1. I understand it's a lot of talented guys. Obviously, Jordan Seaton, the offensive tackle, is one of the more highly ranked guys, and that's going to be a key piece for them. But Trinidad Chambliss is the best returning quarterback in college football.
Agreed.
Yep.
This team still is going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder. I know they lost a lot of pieces, and even some of those pieces went to the NFL, and they're now allegedly going to play for LSU. I have a tough time. If it was not year 1 for Lane Kiffin, I would pick LSU here, but I'm going to go Ole Miss.
The point of Trinidad Chambliss being the best returning quarterback has not been spoken about enough during the season, simply because there's so much going on. There's so much going on
that's sexier.
in college football. But just take a look at these numbers for Trinidad Chambliss in 2025. Over 4,400 passing and rushing yards and just 4 turnovers. It's absolutely ridiculous. Think back to his college football playoff performance. He was making play after play like he was playing Madden on rookie mode.
Right.
But with all that said, I feel like LSU makes the CFP. Why? Because they have to. They've spent over $40 million in the portal. It's not necessarily because I think they're gonna get there. I just think they have to. If you invest that type of money, boy, you better come out with something. So I'm gonna go with LSU makes the CFP because they have to.
Yes, but so you know what's interesting though about this? I think to that end, because we keep talking about Lane Kiffin and LSU in this way, to me, it has less to do with all the resources and everything they have, and it has everything to do with about how he left Ole Miss.
Yeah.
1,000%. And I can't get out of my mind the way that Ole Miss rallied around Golding, right?
100%.
So I'm going to go with Ole Miss making the college football playoff.
What do you guys think of this? Their Week 3 matchup ends up being the decider of
It could.
It
if you get in or get out. Because, in week 11, week 12, we're looking at this saying, man, what's that one game that we got to look at? And this one might be the one.
I think we just want to make sure everybody gets out of Oxford okay.
Yeah,
exactly. You know what I mean? Have a great time
September
down there.
19th, buddy. That's whew.
College game day is going to be on site.
That's
That
gonna
just
be
revealed
one.
too. It's going to be wild there in Oxford. All right. In the latest episode of Law and Order College Football Edition, we have pure chaos 4 days out from the start of the season. Little background here for those who might just be catching up, getting their college football news heading into the season. The NCAA adopted the 5-5 rule earlier, maybe a little bit too late. The class of 2022 was pushed out the door, right? So we have a couple, 16 total, class of 2022 players suing the NCAA for that fifth year of eligibility. A Louisiana court gave guys in NFL camp a loophole to return, and a federal injunction just stayed the ruling for a nationwide injunction there. So now, the Big Ten, the SEC, most recently the Big 12, and likely the ACC all voted to basically ban any player that signed an NFL contract from coming back to play in college football. Suffice to say, coaches across the country have different philosophies when it comes to how they are handling this situation.
It used to be once you had an agent, or once you went and did the combine, or once you went to all those things qualified as you are no longer an amateur, you're a professional now once you declare for the draft. So to let any of those players come back, fair or unfair to them, it's unfair to the sport, and I think it's unfair to the players that are on current teams, for those guys to be coming back.
The conferences have to decide if there's a point where their rosters have to be locked in. Once some of these guys become available, adding them to the roster is going to, provide advantage for certain teams. If there are teams that have some players out there who are cut from NFL rosters that are going to be on other teams, we have to at least consider it and look at it. Do I like anything about it? Absolutely not. But we got to do what's right for Ohio State.
I don't think professionals should come back to college sports and college football particularly. But in this instance, this is not professionals that have gone and played seasons or just, randomly file an injunction in a state to become eligible. These players in all sports were supposed to get 5 for 5. They did not. So judges have found that the NCAA wronged them and they should have 5 years to play.
Go ahead, Lyles. I'm just going to lend the floor to you.
It is funny. Like earlier this week, Lane Kiffin, I think it was when he was on McAfee, was basically like, hey, if these guys are going to be playing for somebody, might as well be me.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think, though, the funny thing about this whole thing is I can tell you from listening to coaches over the last 5 or 6 years talk about their biggest issues. You always hear about the landscape of college football, and it's the Wild West. Stop saying that, by the way. Say what you mean. Anyway, their biggest gripe is not even just that players are getting paid. It's the fact that they want to know who is going to be on their roster. They say, hey, give me my guys from January until the end of the season, and if you don't want to be here anymore, that's absolutely fine. But I want to know who's on my team. That's the only part of this whole thing where I'm kind of looking at this being like, is anybody actually going to take this on after complaining about this specifically for the last 5 years? That's the part. It's a little ironic to me seeing how that's played out.
Yeah, and it's really so confusing, and honestly, to me, it just doesn't feel right. That's what I look at all this and say. It doesn't feel right. What I think is more likely to happen is that the courts block it, because to have a guy be in the NFL, and you're seeing the NFL earlier today, they came out with a statement saying, hey, guys that go back are going to become NFL free agents. They aren't necessarily going to be able to be drafted again. That changes things. So everyone is coming together in a way that we have never seen them come together before. As the SEC presidents voted, as you're seeing on the screen, the ACC, they seem to be coming together on this, and they're all leaning to the side of, nah, they shouldn't play.
The funny part about all of this is that the impetus for it, at least what's been reported, was Lane Kiffin.
Yes, correct.
He was kind of the one that started all of this, asking players to come back if they could.
I do ultimately think, and again, I don't say this with any sort of legal knowledge. That's not why I'm here.
You went to law school,
I'm here because of football.
Yeah.
I think ultimately they will play. The thing that I do or would like to pour some cold water on, this is not like, people keep talking about the state of the game. Oh my God, we're talking about 16 guys for one class.
That's a great reminder.
This is a 1-year thing. Your uncle, your grandpa, your dad, whoever's in your family that's telling you this is going to ruin college football for years to come. We've been doing this for 130 plus years. Everything will be okay. And quite frankly, by the time Saturday rolls around, you're not going to be thinking about this.
We're at that point now where we're just kind of raising our hands up in the air and complaining about things. But I think that's a great point right there, that this is a one-time thing. The NCAA could have done a better job by coming out with that ruling earlier and giving those guys the opportunity, but they didn't. So, Sam, you be the one that's going to decide.
I've decided all of these. I don't feel great about it. I'm going to go with the fact that they will play.
Right.
I said this during college basketball season when Charles Bediako came back, albeit not apples to apples, but it certainly opened the door to the possibility of a professional athlete coming back and playing collegiately, and that's what happened. So we do have our 4 up here. Guys, I'm curious. I want to ask you, is this the right order as far as the most likely to happen versus like the least likely to happen?
Mathematically, I think we leave it right there because none of us are sure right here.
Nope. Nobody has any idea.
That is 133 teams. That feels pretty good.
I like our odds there.
And then I think we'd probably pick that over that. So quite frankly, I mean, we nailed it on the first one. So kudos to you, Sam.
Hey, well, good to you guys too.
Good picks. But you picked all the tiebreakers.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Money.
Production.
That's why they pay him the big bucks.
Shout out to Brian, our producer. So a lot still yet to be decided, right, in the courts. But what we do know is that the Indiana Hoosiers are going to try and repeat, becoming the first team to do so since Georgia. And Coach Cignetti, he's back at it again. Google him.
The Indiana Hoosiers are the kings of college football.
If you want to be the champion, you got to beat the champion.
Arch Manning looking like Grandpa.
Nobody's going to have higher expectations for our team than us.
Buckfire at a hurdle. Touchdown, Buckeyes! Oh, it's picked!
We don't run a hype machine up here in the Midwest. We don't cry a river, whine, and complain. And that's why we're the best.
All right, that's enough of the legalese. Let's talk about some of the players and coaches in college football that will define the 2026 season, not named Lane Kiffin or Arch Manning or Judge Ronald Johnson in the East Baton Rouge Parish. Curt Cignetti, Lyles, you have your eye on as one of those names. And, yeah, if you Google him, you're going to find Division I national champion and undefeated season.
Yeah, I mean, we are talking about a coach and a program that accomplished the greatest story in all of sports. I mean, you talk about an Indiana team that was the losingest program for the 125 years that they had been playing college football. Really 126 up until last year when Northwestern, gracefully took the crown from Indiana. But I think when we look at this Indiana team, Scoob, you heard a lot of people talk about how they just got a bunch of old guys and, all this kind of stuff like that. No. You see a lot of these names here on this list: Elijah Surratt, Kalon Black, Aiden Fisher, D'Angelo Pons. Those were all guys that played at James Madison. Pat Coogan was a guy that felt underappreciated at Notre Dame. Omar Cooper was in. Fernando Mendoza came from Cal. So it's a lot of guys that had to mesh, come together. And so to me, Indiana last year was not just a NIL story. It was not a play the oldest players story. This was a player development story.
Yes, yeah.
And that is the hard part that Indiana and this program have down. A lot of the guys that are on Curt Cignetti's staff have been with him since IUP, that's Indiana University, Pennsylvania, by the way. Elon, James Madison, and now they're in Bloomington with him. And you saw a lot of the players up on that graphic. I don't know if we could throw that up again, but Josh Hoover, the quarterback, he is a more experienced and proven player at this point last year than Fernando Mendoza was. They brought in Nick Marsh from Michigan State. They developed Charlie Becker, the wide receiver, from the playoff last year. Turbo Richard comes over from Boston College. You see Tyree Tucker in there. And then Stephen Daly is back, who was perhaps their best defensive lineman last year that got injured in the Big Ten championship celebration. He's coming back from that class of 22,
that was a sad story.
as well as Kellen Wyatt as well. So this Indiana team reloaded. We thought they might be weak on the defensive line this upcoming year. They're probably going to be better. And so I think when you look at this Indiana team, that was not a flash in the pan. And so I think the big takeaway that everybody, I think, should have from this is Curt Cignetti is going to change the way that programs now look at who they want to hire, because you're going to look the same way that you're looking for that continuity in players you want in your coaching staff the way that he has.
Yeah, I think when you look at Cignetti and the system, let's go back to what our good friend Matt Sim says. Coaching matters.
Always.
It does.
And it is
Always.
a thing in the sports, and matter of fact, all sports that fans tend to overlook. How you develop players and how you get the best out of players and put them in positions to be successful matters. And Curt Cignetti does that consistently at a high level. Why is he able to do it consistently at a high level? He's had the same coaching staff, bringing back the same guys. Sometimes people think coaching matters just at the head coach level, but no. If you've played on a professional team, you understand that the head coach is walking around everywhere like the CEO. He kind of sends the message to the coordinators. And then as the coordinators receive the message, they're the ones that are with the players consistently. Now, what is the biggest thing that I believe they have to coach out of their transfer players? It's going to have to be the interceptions out of Hoover. 13 interceptions last season, 33 over 3 seasons at TCU. If he can find a way to cut loose and protect the ball, you're talking about one of the best quarterbacks in the country and an Indiana offense that is still going to be explosive.
The key is honestly, I mean, it's in his hands both from that perspective. This defense is going to be really tough. But in talking to Fernando Mendoza both during the season and even this past summer, the key he said, because again, we are talking about a lot of guys that transfer in, getting the team to mesh. He said, my guys wanted to go play video games. We're going to go play video games outside of the facility. They want to go bowling. We're going to go bowling. He made sure he knew that they needed to mesh and mesh quickly because, again, like we talked about LSU earlier, it's cool to have all these big, great transfers. You got to make it stick.
If they don't like each other, they're not going to play for each other on the field, right? That's the ultimate goal, and Curt Cignetti has done that.
60 returning players on their team. They may not all be starters. They may not be big-name guys that we remember, but they have 60 guys returning. I know we're looking at the transfer players that are playing the big-name positions, but there is a culture that is coming back there.
No doubt about it. And Indiana's schedule, the non-conference, a little bit soft, but the regular season, they will host Ohio State, and they will see what should be an improved Julian Sayin this year, right, Scoob?
Yeah, absolutely. Julian Sayin is a guy that I look at and say, all right, what he struggled with in the playoffs was pressure. He was surrounded by so much talent. All he had to do was really get the ball out as quickly as possible. But then when you face an elite defensive front, all of a sudden his processing had to be quicker and his athleticism had to be better. Things that I've seen in camp, things that I've read and reports is saying that Julian Sayin has increased his athleticism. He can now run better. He's going to be able to play make a little bit more. And you just got to think from a developmental stage of this is a guy who came in as a true freshman, was completing over 70% of his passes, got to play deep into the playoff and get some of that experience. Time is your best ally. And I am leaning over to saying that time is going to help Julian Sayin play at the next level, and he has exactly what you need, a game-changing wide receiver.
Oh, he's got a few of them.
Right.
Shoot, I mean, you had Chris Henry. A lot of people are sleeping on Brandon Inniss. The thing that is going to be interesting to me, you mentioned time with Julian Sayin. They sort of bought it for him last year during the season. A lot of people were sort of critical of this offense because it was conservative in a lot of people's eyes. I look at it as more efficient. They didn't take a lot of shots. He completed 77% of his passes. They basically had training wheels on him. You bring a new offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. You have, and we mentioned the word continuity earlier. This is now an offensive continuity. Bo Jackson is back in that backfield play. I mean, they basically got a three-headed monster back there.
The freshman back has been really pushing for the position.
Jeremiah Smith in year 3, quite frankly, is unfair. We hear him compared to Julio Jones a lot, which Harry Douglas would co-sign on that. You add Chris Henry Jr., who's just going to be the next thing for them as well. I mentioned Brandon Inniss. So with all of those returning pieces, I know some people are a little meh on the defense. Ohio State is one of the few programs in college football that has still been able to stockpile talent in the NIL era.
I don't know how they do it.
So I think that Julian Sayin has a huge opportunity to just take a leap here, especially now that the training wheels are going to be off.
Real quick, I love you, my producer, BD, but I'm just going to address the chat. We have a question here, and I'm going to ask you the question, Lyles. Someone said, defensively, OSU's defense will be weaker, and he's a Buckeyes fan.
So
do you lean to that side?
So let's do some math. How many guys did they have drafted in the first round? Was it 5?
5.
And I think it was 7 in the first 90 picks. Hey, man, when you send 7 guys that are going to be playing and taking snaps on NFL Sundays in week 1, you have no option but to regress at least a little bit, dude. It's probably going to happen, but that's not because like their coaching is worse or anything like that. These guys are going to be wearing NFL shoulder pads.
And the thing about defense is sometimes it's just about how well you play together. You may not be as talented, but the defense could still be elite just because they play so well together. But it's hard to replace 9 points per game and under 220 yards allowed per game. Hard to be better than that.
Hard to replace downs, too. I mean, the downs factor of that whole thing was...
What people are giving the Cowboys Super Bowl chances because of Caleb Downs.
Right. And you see some of the videos out of that training camp. Yeah, but to your point, Scoop, Julian Sayin, obviously finished fourth in Heisman voting last year, looking to make that next step forward. I'm going to go with my kind of name that will define the season in Rocco Becht over in Penn State. Veteran players, veteran quarterbacks win national championships. Just look at Indiana last year. The OC-QB combo package is also something else that has worked in college football. Look at Oklahoma. Look at maybe Florida this year. Like, there are examples.
Utah last year.
Utah with Devin Dampier, right? Yep. Like, there are plenty of examples out there where that package going together works. Scheduling also plays a role in this, guys. And Penn State has got a really favorable schedule this year.
Yeah.
And really, just speaking on that schedule, the Nittany Lions are going to highlight our next segment, looking at some of the easiest and most difficult schedules this year.
Oh, my God.
I mean, this is a cupcake schedule in the Power Four. No Ohio State, no Oregon, no Indiana, no Power Four non-conference games to get USC at home. Where are the losses coming from here, Lyles?
Okay, well, so I'm going to pour some cold water on this. You could lose to Wisconsin. You got Colton Joseph, the transfer quarterback, coming in. They're actually going to be somewhat competent this year.
If he stays healthy.
USC, Michigan is going to be a lot better, I think, than people think. Washington, and then maybe Maryland is a tough one for you. And then I don't think you could ever take like Minnesota lightly. Like, I know we don't see like the big three on here, which is hilarious that we're including Indiana in that. Never thought that would be a part of my life.
Yep.
But I think they lose at least 3 games.
Okay, but let's say it's the USC, Michigan, and Washington games that you're highlighting there.
Sure.
You gotta win one of those. You gotta win one of those 3.
Okay, but so if they do go 10-2, they're not making the playoff.
I don't think they should too.
They're not making. They are not making. I will. Give me my camera right here. Give me. Hey, look.
Clip this.
Here, hold on. Let's get this on. If Penn State finishes 10-2,
they're not making the playoff.
Okay, have a dialogue.
Because here's the thing. Like, with how much emphasis has been on strength of schedule, you tell me if we get a 9-3 Texas isn't getting in.
But who have they beat? Who have they played?
That's all I'm saying. Like, I understand. I think Penn State will have a good year potentially because of their schedule. We're still talking about a first-year coach in that program, a lot of turnover. I know a lot of the pieces came with him from Iowa State. I think all of that is great.
Look at this, though. 60 seconds.
All I'm saying is, could they finish 10-2? Yeah. Absolutely. I think they'll probably finish like 8-4.
But you just think it won't be okay. So, but the win total is 9.5. So you would go under on the win total.
I'd go under for sure. Yeah, and that has nothing to do. Like, I think Matt Campbell is one of the best coaches in the country. Like, he did things at Iowa State that I think most people never thought that they would see.
Yep.
I just think, though, with the emphasis on strength of schedule, there's a reason the SEC decided that they were going to play 9, because they said, hey, like, if we're already going to beat each other playing 8, if we schedule one more and all of our strength of schedule goes up, like a 9-3 SEC team, I think would get in over Penn State with that schedule.
Yeah, especially because I heard Reese Davis say this, and I kind of agreed on if you get a team that plays another good team like SEC, or let's say Ohio State, Texas.
Yeah.
If one of those teams are to lose that game, and it's a close game, do we punish them at the end of the season and say, oh, you had that one loss? I believe it should be one of those things where if you win the game, then you get the bump. But challenging yourself to play that difficult non-conference opponent should be something where we say, all right, we'll consider it, but I don't think that should be worth a full loss, which is why if a 9-3 Texas is going against a 10-2 Penn State, I would lean over to Texas.
So I just want to give this caveat because I know we need to move on. I do not think that, like, Penn State's schedule for even as weak as a lot of people have been saying it is, and I understand it doesn't include the big 3 on there. I don't, like, just brush off the Minnesotas and the Iowas and all those teams Because I have heard players from other conferences say, oh my God, man, like we're getting ready to play like a bowl game I did. We're getting ready to play Minnesota. They're like, dude, we looked at that offensive line. We're like, what are we supposed to do with that? So like the Big Ten plays a different brand of ball.
Yeah.
They do.
So I don't want y'all at home to, hear that and say like, oh my God, here goes more ESPN SEC bias. I'm just telling you what the committee is going to do.
I hear you. And I do think by and large, the Big Ten, the meat of it in the middle has gotten better.
Yeah.
And to your point,
I think
they
been fine, honestly. Personally.
You
That's
think
just
they've
me.
been fine?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think it's been when we talk about even the middle and the bottom of the SEC, I don't think the Big Ten has been that behind. I think we just we got into a lot of narratives, quite frankly.
Well, we can put a linchpin in that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that a little bit later. Texas Tech. Penn State's not the only one riding on easy street. That would be Texas Tech schedule right there. Reinforcements on the way earlier today. Tommy Castellanos is back in college football, man, although he might be playing wide receiver. Here's a look at the Texas Tech Red Raiders schedule, Lyles. Talk to me.
You don't fear Abilene Christian? You don't see a whole lot of rankings on there. I do want to say this. The preseason AP poll, I know we kind of use that as a measuring stick, and I think that's fine. I do think it is an important reminder because you don't see a lot of numbers on there outside of Houston, right? Arizona State should still be a good football team this year. Arizona's got potential. West Virginia, I think there's reason for optimism there. Oklahoma State.
Nobody knows what that's going to look like.
By the way, Baylor and even TCU. I think TCU's going to be in for a good year. I still think, though, with Texas Tech, I know a lot of people feel less strongly about them because Brendan Scoresby's gone. Will Hammond, man, the performance he had last year against Utah before he got hurt, I still think there's reason for a ton of optimism here.
So Texas Tech, there are 9 Big 12 opponents on their schedule this year, when a combined 53 and 62 last year. 5 of the 9 were sub-500 teams. All right, Notre Dame. Man, what do we do with the Fighting Irish this year? Worth a reminder, again, that Notre Dame only needs to be ranked in the top 12 of the final rankings to receive a spot in the playoff this year, Scoob. When you look at their schedule, obviously the 2 big games at BYU and home against Miami late in the season. So they don't have a scenario where they are kind of playing catch up with those 2 tough games they faced last season. Little bit of a runway there to work up to BYU.
Yeah, I like how they have that towards the end of the season, but this is going to be another year where Notre Dame, you can't really trip up, because if they lose one of those games they're not supposed to, and then let's say lose a close one to Miami and then just blow everyone else out, if they end up ranked 12th nationally, they still get into the CFP, as you just mentioned. But I really like Notre Dame this year, guys. Yep. I think they're a team that can win the national championship. One of the most experienced teams in the country. Number 1 in returning snaps, 14 returning starters, 6 offense, 8 defense. And you got CJ Carr, a guy who is being seen as a potential first-round quarterback. I think they're stacked all over their roster. They got a great coach. This is the year for Notre Dame to do something.
All right, we're going straight to Miami here. Those were a few teams with some easier schedules. They hit the jackpot. On the other side, a couple that have to have a couple more difficult games, right? So Miami, you look at that Notre Dame game, the ACC, a lot of talk on it being down this year, but let's not forget Duke won this conference last year, so that's a little tough stretch back to back. Lyles, what are we thinking on the ACC?
Man, if you're Miami, you are glad that after you start off at Stanford and then you get FAMU. I do think, listen, I know we're not high on Clemson and Florida State this year, and most people, frankly, aren't ever high on Pitt, which I don't always agree with.
They're always a tough team.
They're always tough, defensively, always really stout. That's you want to talk about coaching continuity. That staff over there.
Well, you still got North Carolina. We'll see.
No, North Carolina is going to be bad. This is the last year. This is the last. No, this is the. No, this. No,
You're
bro.
shutting that down quick.
No.
He said, no, I didn't even give it a chance.
We pretended to do this like the first year. Lombardi had the quote, the 33rd NFL team. No, man. No.
Not even giving that a second thought, right?
I'm sorry.
Miami.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Man.
Miami has
check magic.
I hear you. Miami has played 22 seasons of college football in the ACC. They have never won a conference championship. So, considering what happened last year, anything short of a conference championship win this year, I think would be a little bit of a disappointment.
Tell you what, though, a player I think we're sleeping on is Darian Menzel.
I 1,000% agree with you, and we're going to get to that in just a bit. So again, those are the couple of teams that have some really tough, really easy schedules. Ohio State, this might be not only like one of the toughest schedules in the conference, but maybe one of the toughest schedules Ohio State has ever actually faced.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is a gauntlet here.
It's a good example of if you lose 3, you're in over a 10-2 Penn State.
Yep.
Great example. I mean, you know what I mean?
Lose to Texas.
Like this, I mean, that stretch. I mean, so from Iowa down to Oregon, if you get out of that with 1 loss, man, like nothing can break you after that. I don't think. That's just, dude. That's an absolute.
You got a bye week after Indiana, though, right?
Yes,
6
you
ranked
get the bye
teams.
after Indiana. Yeah, you need that one. But man, even just, I know some people think Nebraska is going to be good this year. I have some questions about them at the quarterback position. I think Anthony Calandri is good. I don't know if he can play in the Big Ten.
Scoob, I just think of all right, Texas was preseason #1 last year. Their schedule looked a heck of a lot like Ohio State's did. They finished 9-3. Like, if Ohio State finishes 9-3, they get in the playoff this year, but
Here's
Texas
another
finished
stinker.
9-3. Yeah, here's another easy road for the Texas Longhorns this year, Scoob.
And that's why we said earlier that Arch Manning has a good chance to win the Heisman, because just look at all the games that are going to be must-see TV. But this is a difficult path, and I tip my hat, my cowboy hat, to the Longhorns just simply because of the difficulty of their schedule. That Ohio State matchup is going to be a real litmus test for both teams to see where they are. But then Oklahoma, I really like Oklahoma this season. I think they have one of the strongest rosters in the entire country, especially on that defensive side of the ball. John Mateer, is he going to be aggressive and careless with the ball like we've seen in the past? And then Florida, don't sleep on Florida. We'll see what they can do this year, but it seems like they've had a little bit of a reset. And then Ole Miss, we talked about Trinidad Chambliss, how he's the best returning quarterback. You go down Mizzou, that won't be easy. You're at Mizzou, and then LSU and Texas A&M. This is a gauntlet. How do you get out of this without 3 losses?
So here's, if you're a Texas fan watching this, I think here's the positive for you. This is the positive spin. Starting with Texas State, good. Obviously playing Ohio State, difficult. But the fact that you have the Texas State and the UTSA game sandwiching that Ohio State game, even if you lose that Ohio State game, that is sort of where you figure all your stuff out before you get into the tough part of this. And honestly, you need to be good by the time November 7th rolls around and you're going to Columbia and playing Missouri. Because that stretch of those last 4 games, that's the tough part about all this.
3 of the last 4 games, they're on the road.
There's a non-zero chance that 7 of their last 9 opponents are ranked teams this year.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time you get to Florida, who knows? They might be ranked. All right, Oklahoma. One of the teams that would be ranked would be the Oklahoma Sooners, who collapsed in the Red River rivalry last year, but still made the CFP. Here's Oklahoma's schedule. It was tough last year, and it's not any easier this year, Lyles.
No, it's not. Georgia and Texas back-to-back is tough, but you got to buy in between there, which helps. But, man, even if you look at those last few games, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Missouri. And honestly, I mean, Florida on top there, too. I think Florida's going to be a team that's going to give people fits.
A lot of people high on OU this year, though.
Yeah, and they should be. Look, I don't think people realize with John Mateer's injury last year, and Tom Luganbill helped me get a really good understanding of what was happening with him. He couldn't grip the football. And I believe it was Heather Dinich that had a story for ESPN.com where basically I want to say, essentially he doubled his grip strength from the time that he came back until basically camp now. You can't play quarterback if you can't grip the football. Defensively, this looks like a Brent Venables freaking team.
Yeah.
Right?
He's jacked now, too.
And the fact that now Mateer's healthy, ready to go, a lot of people
weight,
forget how exciting this team was when he was at his best.
He did, because at one point we talked about John Mateer as being a Heisman candidate early on in the season because he was playing that well. But then he left and came back, which I believe he came back too early, if you ask me.
Yep.
But he started to play hero ball. He just needs to make the right plays because although I agree with you that he had the hand problem going on, there were at times that he put the ball in unnecessary positions. And it wasn't necessarily that the throw could have been better. No. Tom Brady would have a tough time throwing the ball between 3 people and there's one wide receiver over there. So those type of decisions he needs to clean up because he's got a great run game and a defense that, quite frankly, at the end of the season was scoring more than the offense.
Right. And, well, they had a ton of injuries at wide receiver and the O-line last year. All 3 of those schedules, though, are laughable in terms of kind of how difficult they are. But speaking of laughable, here are a few of the out-of-bounds stories that we're following very closely as we get into the college football season. Yeah, it's what makes this sport so great. The promotions the school puts on, especially if they're NIL involved. The Akron Zips decided, in an effort to increase season tickets, we're going to put all of our season ticket holders into a pile. We're going to pick one. The winner's going to serve as the co-offensive coordinator, helping design the opening week 1 drive against Robert Morris. Scoob, we have a winner. We have a winner. What are you calling? Like, what's your first play out of the gate?
All right, first off, I'm trying to score 6 in under 5 plays. I got to be on some Madden type stuff.
That's right.
But I'm not going to go deep first play. You got to set him up a little bit. You know what I'm saying, Harry? Maybe do a little power up the run, and then maybe a little something outside, and then hopefully we're in a second and short. Play action over the top. That's what I'm doing.
I like that. I'm trying to score on the very first play so I can mask my creativity, which wink, wink, I have none.
Akron's offensive coordinator of the game has been named. Martin Allen Wims II. Marty serves as CFO of Stark Enterprises, so he must know Iron Man.
I was going to say, that is a money name.
I would agree with that, Marty. Not sure how old Marty is. He might be younger than the 47-year-old pastor joining San Jose City College Jaguars as a defensive end. Lyles, get you a DN that can do it all, right? You lead the team in prayer. And then you go back out and you get after the quarterback.
Yeah, at least the Lord is on your team, I guess. That can't hurt. I'd take him on my team if that's the case.
He might be a good vibes guy. Everyone likes a good vibes guy. But come on, man, the eligibility for college is crazy. But this is even crazier, the roster that we had of this high school team.
All right, so Keelan Russell named the starter at Alabama. And you look at the Duncanville roster, you've got Power 4 starters, first-round draft picks littered in this roster. They did win the state championship. That was the first thing I looked at. I was like, they better damn well have won.
Yeah, right.
That's not safe.
It's
to play against that. We talked about Colin Simmons earlier in the show, best player probably defensively in college football.
What the heck?
Keelan Russell is going to have Crimson Tide fans feeling great again. DeCorey, and that's not fair.
That's unfair, man.
That's real Texas.
Guys, I may have found my crush for the season. Ball State. Keldrick Luster was named the starting quarterback the other day. He's listed at 5'10", 250, Scoob, which actually means he's like 5'9", 265 in reality. They play. This is him when he was at SMU. Look at him. Oh, get to that linebacker and just crack him. This is going to be a lot of fun. They play Ohio State, by the way, in week 1. Yeah.
I am excited to just watch him go.
Yeah.
Just watch him go. It's like a big college basketball player, similar vibes.
All right. Luster's got the size, but one high school sophomore has the name recognition already. That would be Fat Boy Jesus Capesi.
So time out. Are you telling me his first name is Fat Boy?
That's what the graphic says.
So
I thought we weren't allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah, I know. What's going on? So the parents saw him out the room, and I'm like, "Hey, that's a fat boy. Shoot, put that on the birth certificate, why don't you?"
Oh man, I don't know that I can. I don't know that I got anything that we can.
Fat Boy Jesus.
Let's go to the next one.
Out there. I'm not sure how this is a thing. So Lenore Sellers, starting quarterback at South Carolina this year, graduates in December. He doesn't have any classes this semester, but what he does have is an internship at a local driving range. Now, I don't know where this was when I was in college.
Yeah.
I certainly would have picked up this internship. Probably would have cut off a couple strokes on the old golf game there.
Right.
Lenore Sellers, maybe going to the NFL, maybe going to the PGA Tour after his college days are done. All right, let's move it along here. This is modern college football, right? Which means you can have internships at driving ranges. You can also have family reunions. So sooner or later, you might run into an ex, right? Former quarterbacks returning to face old coaches facing, former quarterbacks. Here's a peek at a couple of our favorite family reunions this year. Only one place to start. Ole Miss hosting LSU in week 3. We've touched upon it a little bit, Lyles, but that place is going to be the Electric Factory down there in Oxford.
Genuinely, like the security, we gotta bump it up, man. Like I've been on a lot of sidelines where everyone's kind of just like chilling. Like we need real bodies out there.
Yeah.
But look, all jokes aside, like I really do think that is going to be peak college football.
Right.
Like well and truly, like hate involved. Like, I know a lot of people don't like using that word, but like that's kind of what makes this sport great is the passion behind it.
Yes.
There's going to be no more passion in any game this year, national championship included, than there will be in Oxford on September 19th.
Well, and the football on the field too, Scoob, is going to be like ridiculous. These are it could be 2 top 10 teams at the time of playing this game.
Yeah, and I said it earlier at the end of the show, this matchup could be very decisive for both of these teams if they're going to have a postseason. And you got Trinidad Chambliss, who can make plays up and down the field. And then you got Sam Levitt, who's also a playmaker. You got great play callers. You got the former coaches going head to head. There's just so much bulletin board material. Just line it up and play. I cannot wait till this matchup.
There will be plenty of drama and build up to that matchup. There will also be plenty of drama and build up to this one following a legal suit and an ACC championship at Duke. Darian Mensah decided to take his talents on down to South Beach, and these two will meet once again November 14th at the U.
It's going to be a fun one. And I'll tell you what, like I understand, you know, some people didn't like the way that Darian Mensah went about it. I will tell you, though, this is a young man that, Sam, we talk about this in some of our other shows. Quarterbacks that transfer places and continue to get better, like Darian has. I think of a guy like Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, great example. This is another one of those kind of guys. Hard worker, his teammates love him, very coachable. I don't know that this one will be as hate-fueled. Their starting wide receiver, number 1 wide receiver, Cooper Barkate, he actually went to Miami as well.
Yes, he did.
So
Duke,
more than one there.
That was what I was going to bring up. He brings a friend with him, so a little bit of familiarity there. But these are the other things that we enjoy in college football and the little storylines that we're going to be paying attention to as the game approaches. But Darian Mensah, great playmaker, man, great arm. If you watch those Duke games, there were a couple of times where it was just like, wow, like if only he had a little bit more around him. Well, guess what? He has more around him now. Yeah. And we're going to see his true potential. And Fletcher, Tony, I mean, all those guys are special talents, and he's just going to have to give him the ball and step out the way.
Yeah.
To your point, his predecessor was one of those guys, too. I think Carson Beck transferred, found a new spot, made it to a national championship
Cam
game.
Ward. I mean, Miami, hey, if you're a transfer quarterback, man,
that's a spot.
Miami.
That's a spot. Great offensive line, coached by an offensive line. All right, we promised you at the start of the show we would fill out the bracket, which we will do our best to do. It is somewhat of a futile exercise because I guarantee you we're going to be woefully wrong by the end of it. But yes, here's just a couple of updates for you, some tweaks to the 12-team playoff. Power 4 conference champions now punch their ticket, an automatic bid. Notre Dame, like we mentioned, is in the field with a top 12 bid on Selection Sunday in the highest ranked group of 6 now, with the Pac-12 entering the fray. It is not group of 5, group of 6 now. Again, does not have to be a conference champion. So we go back to our touchscreen. Here is a look at the bracket as it would be with the AP rankings. We have not played any games yet, but this is just the AP rankings. Guys, where do you want to where do you want to start here? Let's just start at like what would be perceived as the number 12 spot, and we'll talk about the group of 6. So right now it's Navy. Do you agree, disagree? Do you think there's another team that will get the group of 6 spot this year?
Navy's certainly a contender. I am looking at UNLV.
Okay.
Personally, they have Jackson Arnold coming in. Understand that has not necessarily been a great quarterback, but we saw what Dan Mullen did with Anthony Calandria last year.
Yep.
I think that team could be special.
Okay.
So what you're telling me is coaching matters, huh?
A little bit.
We were talking before the show, too. How funny would it be if Dan Mullen took the running Rebs to the college football playoff before Florida ever got there? But I digress.
Hear about it.
I digress. All right. Anybody else here? Look, here are the AP rankings. Here's a couple of the teams that are currently out right now.
Real quick, we haven't talked about the obvious SEC team, Alabama. What do we think about them? Because right now we don't have them making the college football playoff. Obviously, they're the second team out. We're doing this based on the AP poll. But do we give them a chance this year to really do something special? Because you got to look at that quarterback position with Russell being named the starter as a freshman, but all I've heard is raves about him and his playmaking ability.
Yeah.
What do you think about Alabama?
I think they're another year away.
Okay.
And I think that hopefully they give Kalen. I think they will give Kalen DeBoer. I mean, he just signed an extension last year.
Pretty good buyout there. I don't.
Hey, man, if you're an Alabama fan, trust me, bro. Wait. Like this, it will be worth the wait. Like
the offense has to be better than it was last year.
And I do think it will. I mean, it was just so odd. Like Alabama of all teams could not run the football last year. That's not supposed to be a thing.
Yeah. So for you Alabama fans, I just want to make sure that we touched on your team.
Very nice of you, Skubie. Very nice.
Scooby, do you want to go 13 through 25 then? Make everybody else feel good. What about Washington?
We love. We no.
No?
Hold on. There is another team that I did want to talk about at least, and that would be this team right here.
I'm with you on that.
I'm pretty high on Bear
high on them
Bachmeier and
too,
BYU. Let's not forget their running back was the preseason player of the year.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's a straight switch here with Texas Tech and BYU, or if the Big 12 gets 2 in. But I'm high on this team here.
Throw them in there.
For just swap
Yeah,
them?
swap them with Texas Tech.
You think it's just a 1-1?
Sure, why not?
All right.
We'll make it simple since we've
we've
already got the land laid out here.
Is there anybody else here that should be here right now?
That should be?
Yes. Yeah. Anybody here
does Michigan deserve any mention at all?
I know you're high on them.
I think Michigan is going to – I would take Michigan over Penn State this year. I also think Tennessee, that's a team to look out for this year.
Not a lot of people. So you're a Faison Branding guy.
Yeah. And that, I mean, they're talented. That's a talented team.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many different things that you can look at on this left side.
Houston too.
Out.
Houston is a team to keep an eye on.
Tough
Connor
schedule.
Wigman. They have a tough schedule. Connor Wigman played really good last year. They added Mekhi Hughes, who was at Tulane a couple of years ago, transferred to Oregon, didn't play, entered the portal really early. I think that is a guy that's going to be in for a rebound season.
Well, let's make one more substitution just for fun. So if you're going to say, like, Michigan should be in, give me a Big Ten team that you're kind of fading then.
Ooh, I'm not taking them out over anybody that's on there.
You're not.
I'm just saying, like, I think that they're more of a contender than Penn State is.
All right, so we feel good about this right now.
Yeah, let's keep these
go.
right
Let's
here.
fill it out. So UNLV, Texas. That's not. Thanks for playing, Dan Mullen. All right, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. Where are we going?
I'm going to A&M here, if you ask me.
Both in the playoff last year.
I would go Ole Miss there.
But Trinidad is a gamer when it comes down to the big
They've been there. They've been there. I mean,
this would be at home.
So as Marcel Reed and them, it's going to be at home. Ole Miss.
All right.
Yeah, I think I would still take Ole Miss.
Ole Miss over Texas A&M.
How about Ole Miss back-to-back years with a little bit of a run in the playoff?
And don't remember, we're saying Ole Miss with LSU sitting as the first team out. Now imagine that.
Yeah.
Ole Miss making it to the quarterfinals. The
back-to-back
first year
years.
without Lane
We
Kiffin.
weren't intentionally messy, but I mean,
I would love that. I love chaos. All right, come on.
That's a fun one. BYU, Indiana. All right.
Indiana for sure. That in that matchup, like I'm with you that I think we're sort of overlooking BYU this year. That Indiana defense is going to be too much for Bear Bachmeier.
Look, there's a reason Kalani Sitake stayed at BYU. He had options to go, but he stayed.
Humble cookie.
That helps.
Yeah.
Oklahoma and Miami.
Ooh,
Does
that,
the U have another
we got
run?
that matchup bad. Ooh, man.
Defense on defense there.
What type of year is Mensa having, right? Is he taking care of the football? A lot of different things.
So here's the key, though, with this one, Scoop, to me, because we know what we're getting out of Miami on both sides of the football.
Yeah.
The only question we're really asking about Oklahoma is the offense going to be there. To me, if they make the playoff, their defense is doing their part. The offense probably stepped up.
Yeah.
To which degree, we don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe in that matchup, then we go Oklahoma. Just because, again, we have big expectations.
I'm with you.
That could be the best defense in college football this year. At worst, it'll be top 5.
I definitely think they are the best defense. And it
So
goes
maybe
back to what we said.
Just to be different,
Will Mateer be able to just manage the game, right? Sometimes you just don't need your quarterback to try and be the hero. Don't be Superman. Take care of the football and let the defense do what the defense does. And as we have heard, as the cliche in sports, defense wins.
Word out of camp, Isaiah Satania is as advertised as one of, if not the best wide receivers in the game this year.
Yeah.
So,
Special camp.
Yes.
Special camp this year.
All right, Texas, Notre Dame.
Ooh.
Now it's getting juicy.
I said this earlier at the top of the show that Notre Dame is one of the most experienced teams in the country. We talked about Indiana when they won the championship last year. What did they have? They had older guys on their team. They had experience. The team that is the most experienced this season is Notre Dame, and they have the #1 returning players. and a special quarterback. So I'm going with Notre Dame to beat Texas here. Where do you stand, Sam?
No, I don't disagree with you. I'm just thinking, like, damn, this is a tough quarterfinals matchup. This could easily have been a championship game. But
and two big names.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's gonna be
Quite frankly, and I originally was not a fan of the 12-team playoff. NIL and transfer portal have actually made it to where even if we were just talking about the teams right here, realistically, you could convince me any of those teams could win the national championship.
1,000%. Yeah.
Any
Before that,
so
there's usually maybe 3.
Right.
So yeah, I'm with you. It's tough.
The list is deeper.
What are you going?
I'm letting you pick. You pick this one.
We'll go to the Notre Dame fans have been upset. All right.
All fans are
Again,
upset, Scooby.
Again, it's not. Look, it's not as if like this is like a revolutionary thing. Scoop, move him up because we gotta get Ole Miss over there or Ohio State.
Oh wait. And then
now just Notre Dame's gonna win the whole thing. Let's go Ole Miss, Ohio State.
Hey, that is sometimes you are your own biggest opponent.
Worst enemy, right?
Ohio State here, man.
Yeah.
I really do think this offense, whatever the defense may or may not turn into, it's going to be good enough to hold back whatever they're going to be putting on the board.
Now let me bring this up because it's continued to be a topic of discussion, especially in this round. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon, all had byes. They're going to have these teams coming off of playing the following week,
That's a good point.
the previous week.
Yeah.
Do we believe that Ohio State will be locked in enough to take on an Ole Miss team that has already taken on Texas A&M and they come in there hot?
Yep.
All right? I just raise the question. Sam?
I agree. I think it's I agree. The win total for Ohio State's 8.5 this year.
Like, that's not the scary one.
8.5?
That is the scary buy.
Right.
If you're Georgia and
Indiana,
you would have to play
Georgia?
Indiana.
Yeah. Because are we going to go chalk here? Or are we finally going to lean towards Indiana? I love Georgia this year, too, man. There's something about what they're trying to do at Georgia. Kirby Smart has said he wants to be more explosive. This was an offense that was already clicking on a lot of different cylinders last year. And he's talking about we need this offense to be more explosive. Are you going to cut Gunnar Stockton loose? He's a guy that threw a lot of hitches, a lot of screens last year in the top half of the country when you talk about throwing the ball in terms of in air yards. But this year, they're going to try to open things up.
All right. So I know Athens is a very special place in your heart for college games.
Well,
but let me just say this. There's a lot of narratives out there, like what's happened to Georgia. Think about their exits the last 2 years.
right.
I mean, Ole Miss.
Yeah. Notre
One
Dame.
of the greatest games, that we saw that last season. And then Notre Dame with Carson Beck on the bench, right?
Yep.
So it's not as if like they've been an awful
No, they've
team.
been right there.
They've kind of been
SEC
snake bitten.
They've been right there,
They've
man.
been snake bitten a little bit, man. I feel like Georgia's going to advance.
See, okay, so here's to your point about the bye. You get Indiana coming off of a game, you're losing that.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
All right, for the points, since we've gone with the bye team every single time, we'll go with Indiana here. Oklahoma, Oregon. Will Oregon finally break through? Because this is where they tend to trip up.
I think so.
Yeah, me
I think
too.
this is the year.
Yeah,
This is the year?
Ryan Day was able to do it. I think Dan Lanning's one of the next guys to answer that bell,
100%.
right?
So this is when
And he's got them running on different time than even their. I mean, I understand that they were in the national championship in 2014, but like this is a different program.
Right.
Yeah,
I would agree.
and last year the talk was really young team, one of the youngest teams in the country.
They were hurt a lot too.
Yeah, and they still made it to the college football playoff. And now you bring back a lot of those guys. You're a year older.
Yep.
Time, as I said earlier, is your best ally.
They got to exercise some demons, though. They got to exercise some demons this year. Go ahead, Notre Dame, Ohio
Notre
State.
Dame, Ohio State.
I'm going Ohio State.
Again, you can't go wrong here, but it's like
Yeah. I personally, when I look at this matchup, I go Ohio State just because also, if I'm thinking semifinal, if they've gotten to this point, they've figured everything out.
That's a good point.
all right.
That's
so-
not to say that you can't say that about these other teams, but again, I think with your concern being like, oh, well, are they sharp on defense?
Yeah.
Well, like,
We got a lot of potential rematches here. The Ohio State Georgia
All right.
playoff
Here we are.
game a couple years ago.
We just said Big Ten of the field at the top of this at the show. What are we going with, Oregon or Georgia? Because if we said the field is going to win the championship,
Y'all
and then
said the field.
and then we come here. And then
Well, that's why you guys wanted to put Indiana there, too. So then we wouldn't have had any SEC team.
Yeah, it's a
Look,
good
an
point.
SEC team has not been in the college football playoff title game in the last 3 years. I think that's going to change. I think Georgia I think Georgia's not being talked about
Oh my
enough.
God, that game, boy, that was
Look, who's won the SEC the last couple of years? Like, have we just forgotten that this is like a team that, again, I just think has gotten a little bit unlucky in the playoff?
The number one preseason ranked team has not won the championship in a very long time. Does that change this season?
Oh, before we get there, Lyles, just talk to me about that matchup, because I know you wanted to go Oregon, so I want to give you the floor.
To me, man, I mean, that would be a tough matchup. You got to remember, Dan Lanning used to be the defensive coordinator at Georgia. That's a fiery guy.
Yep.
I feel like he would not let his team lose that game.
Yeah.
But here's my thing with Oregon this year. Dante Moore is the best quarterback that he has had since he's been there.
Yeah.
None of us thought that Dante Moore would be playing football this year because we thought he was going to be the number one pick last year. And he was probably going to be number 2 if he would have gone.
Fair.
Because of that, that is part of why I think, assuming they stay healthy, because again, that was a huge issue for them last year. If he stays healthy, to me, that is the national champion.
All right, so we have Ohio State and Georgia in the national title game, which means probably neither of those teams will be in the national title game by the end of this thing. But for the purposes of this exercise, who wins the national championship this year?
Well, I'm being stubborn right now because of what we did at the top of the show.
Yeah.
So part of me wants to say an SEC
That's
team
y'all.
is going to win the championship. And
That's y'all. Go ahead, stick with it, man.
What do you think? What do you think?
No, you got stick with it.
All right, I'm
Go
going
ahead.
Georgia. I'm
Yeah,
going
go
Georgia
ahead.
to win the championship. Kirby Smart. It's been a long time. Not really a long time, but it feels like it's been
Feels
a
like
long
a long
time.
time.
Look,
for him because they've been right
they were
there
one of
every
the
single
young.
time.
They were one of the youngest teams in the country last year.
And I'm with you, Sam. I really do think people are sleeping on Georgia. We've just gotten so comfortable with how tough they are.
Right.
They still. I think a lot of people forget that when Georgia, under the previous regime, was a really, really good football team, never got over the hump, sometimes didn't show up in big games. We don't think about them like that anymore. This is not who they are. This is Kirby Smart's Georgia.
And let's not forget, what did they have, 7 or 8 comeback wins last season? This is a team that's really accustomed to the pressure. I wonder how much of a leap does Gunnar Stockton actually make, because that will be the difference between this team winning or this team winning. Oh, wait,
Or both
I
of
got you.
Again, Ohio against everybody.
All
or
right,
themselves.
so we're going with Georgia. Sam, you can change this.
Go with Georgia because DJ, who's on our production staff, big Georgia guy.
I can hear him back there. I can hear you back there, DJ.
This is the worst thing that could possibly happen to DJ.
he actually hates that we did this.
We
Yeah,
picked
yeah.
Georgia to win the national championship. So that's a shout out to you, DJ. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching the College Football Preview Show. You can catch Harry Lyles Jr. on Countdown to Game Day, 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time every Saturday. They're going to heat things up for you before the games get started. Skubie, myself, and Matt Sims, we got you covered at 11 p.m. Eastern Time every single Saturday on the College Football Show. We cannot wait to get the season started with all of you. Stay tuned. We're going to have a great, great year, everybody.
Peace.